All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Tonight. I am your humble hardcore host, Mad Dog Butch. And joining me as always, the Ricky Rice to my Derek Dukes, none other than Brace Beemer.
Yeah. You're a hardcore host this week, eh? I
Yeah,
think the last
I'm
show you
feeling it.
weren't.
Nah, I wasn't feeling it last time.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
feeling it. I'm feeling it.
And
because WWE just brought back the pseudo version of the hardcore title, the 24/7 title.
oh, really?
Yeah, it looks horrible.
Are they gonna defend it on the network or whatever?
Well, I haven't really watched it, but I have seen Mick Foley debuted it. It got booed out of the building. So basically, he was in the ring with the 24/7 belt and said that the winner was the first guy to come out and grab it. So I believe Bobby Roode came and got it, and then R-Truth later got it from him. I think I don't remember, and then now I think Elias has it. He must have beat him on SmackDown for it or something.
Some hot potato they can pass back and forth.
Exactly. Raw's ratings are in the toilet right now,
And they deserve to be, as far as I can tell.
Wrestling all around is kind of in the toilet right now. So I think that is their way of bringing the hardcore title back in the PG era. I mean, let's admit it. That was kind of a fun thing back then.
Yeah, a lot of ha-ha.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I think they're just trying to add a little bit more, quote, excitement to their show. But
really, if they wanted to get ratings, they should get a guy like your T-shirt there. That's a quality Mr. Rogers
well,
T-shirt.
you haven't been following the product, have you? Because they do have. They turned Bray Wyatt into a children's television show host.
Really?
With puppets. Yeah.
Huh.
But, I mean, he's an evil host, but still.
Huh.
It's the same thing. He's got puppets and
So
whatever.
I can't say brilliant minds think alike because I don't want any part of that one.
I can't say I hate it. I haven't seen the whole thing, but what I've seen of it, at first I was like, what are they doing? And then it's gotten a little bit better. I mean, I don't know. We'll see where it goes, though. They probably don't even know where it's going to go.
No, probably not.
I think they're just throwing crap at the wall.
Hey, they might as well.
To see what's going to stick.
Yeah, they've been kind of doing that for a long time, unless you're a main event angle, you know?
True. That is true. So we're going to talk about a couple quick things. We need to talk about an upcoming show that's going to be here on the January, what is it, the 8th?
June 8th.
June 8th. Yeah, January.
January 8th, that's Elvis's birthday.
Yeah, June 8th, the Michigan Wrestling Organization will be back here for another exciting edition of Slammin' Saturday Night. And
Lake Orion, Michigan, for those of you outside the viewing area, and you can follow it online live as well.
And I should be there as well with a brand new Doghouse segment. I don't know who will be my guest yet, but
brand new,
I believe I will be
new
there.
format, new
No.
background, or
no. Just it'll be a new episode. That's all.
And they're quality interview segments, by the way. They're really entertaining.
Oh, well, thank you. I try.
And bell time is at 6:05, so if you're in the area or you're going to travel to the area, just make sure you get here, a half hour beforehand, and enjoy the show.
Right.
It'll be good having those guys back in. I missed the last show.
Yeah. Always entertaining time. And again, if you are going to come to the show, it's very limited seating. So, like Brace said, try to get here early. Anything else that you want to mention before we... Well, we should talk about... you probably don't know a whole lot about it, but we should talk about AEW.
I don't know anything, but I can have an opinion on it.
Well, it's kind of like the big buzz thing going on right now. Actually got a mention on Monday Night Raw by Sami Zayn. They're doing a new segment. And from what I understand, it's a shoot segment. It's called The Electric Chair. Corey Graves, one of your cousins, has an electric chair in the ring what they do is he has a wrestler in there and takes legitimate questions from the crowd. At least this first segment. They might change it next week, but so far the very first segment, and he actually mentioned AEW. Um,
I'm not sure if I like that already. you know?
but they did cut that out in the replay, in the YouTube replay, because
Oh.
I looked it up and I was like, what are they talking about? I don't see it. But then I found the original uncut version. And supposedly he was fed that line
Really?
from somebody in the back. Yeah, because people were thinking he was going to get some heat. I think they probably did that just to make it look more shoot style.
Yeah.
But apparently it is legitimate. They don't know what the crowd's going to ask. Although he didn't really answer any questions, he just healed everybody.
I mean, that part of it's cool, but why they would mention competition? I don't think they're really much competition right now. And the other way around. You sent me a clip of Cody Rhodes making this long, stupid, slow walk to grab a sledgehammer and
Well, that was
bash a chair that was supposed to be like Triple H's throne. And
right.
Gosh.
That was his entrance to the ring. I also sent you the match between him and Dustin. I don't know if you watched that.
No, I did not.
Okay. It was a decent match. Considering Dustin, well, I should say, especially considering Dustin just came off a double knee surgery not too long ago, he looked the same as he always does to me. There was blood. I thought it was all right.
Dustin Reynolds?
Yeah,
So they put the brothers in the ring right away.
they did because now they're going to be a tag team. Because they set it up at the end that they are going to challenge the Young Bucks at the next show, I think, or something like that. But anyway,
Who's booking that?
They are going to. I am not sure, but they are going to be on the TNT network eventually. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that they are going to be on there.
Well, good for them. I hope it works out, and I hope they just do something different than everybody else has been doing the last 20 years.
Yeah. I'm checking the feed here, and Rick Allen says it would be better if the belt wasn't so ugly. I'm not sure. I think he's talking about the 24/7 belt. He might be talking about the AEW belt. I don't know, because they actually had Bret Hart debut the AEW belt on the pay-per-view on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, it looked okay. I mean, nothing special. It was fine for what it is. It seemed like they were trying to make it kind of look like the IWGP belt.
Oh, okay.
Sort of. That's kind of my thought.
Huh. Well, maybe you can clarify that in a little comment gimmick down here. By all means, if anybody out happens to be listening out there and you want to ask a question or give a thought, opinion, log into the chat for the show while you're watching it live and fire away.
All right. Anything else before we get to our topic?
No, let's hit it, man. Let's shoot.
All right. Obviously, we're going to be talking about wrestling shoots. And when I started compiling my list, I'm surprised that there is not more. I mean, I know that there's little things that happen in the ring. Those might be more considered like receipts, but a full on like battle.
When you're talking shoot, what are we talking about? Just to clarify it for, the verbiage for people who might not know.
Yeah, when the match turns real, more real. Obviously there are. Well, now it's in vogue to have work shoots, but back in the day it wasn't. But there was also matches that were set up to be shoots, but we're going to kind of focus on matches that were supposed to be regular pro wrestling matches that devolved into a real fight, even if it was just something that lasted for a few seconds.
Yeah, okay.
Or I mean, some longer, but that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hold on one second. Okay.
Good. Well,
just making sure that there wasn't any.
Yeah,
comments,
the deal with the pro wrestling shoot fights is Like a lot of them that you go out there and you see like on YouTube or, whatever platform you like to watch your videos, you'll see and it looks like a regular wrestling match. And then all of a sudden it doesn't look like a normal wrestling match. It's almost a giveaway. It's not necessarily that they screwed up or, botched a spot or botched a move. The work just looks a little more stiff, and generally it consists of two people, like, the opponent sitting there looking at each other like, what the hell you doing? And then they start going at it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Um, let's uh, let's start off with because the show that's hot right now is the Dark Side of the Ring. They aired their last episode, and that it was the Fabulous Moolah episode. At least for the first season, that's the last episode. Um,
Yeah, that's a
now,
travesty.
now there's some debate on whether this was how much of a shoot this match actually was, and it was Wendy Richter versus Fabulous Moolah. Apparently, Wendy Richter, quote, got too big for her britches, thought she was more important than she was. She claims that she just wanted the same money as Hulk Hogan. No, not necessarily Hulk, but she thought that the women were not getting paid as much as they should have. I don't. Well, I can't even say that. She thought that she was not getting paid as much as she should have,
Yeah.
and she's probably got somewhat of a legitimate point. She was just not as big of a part, but a big part of the rock and wrestling boom. I mean, the rock and wrestling connection, the '80s boom of WWF, no doubt about it.
Yeah. But there again, it's not that different from anybody else in the wrestling business where, she was kind of a newcomer to the WWF and the whole national scene at the time. So, you know, I mean, I could understand if she didn't get a bigger payoff for like a match, but overall in general, she didn't really bide her time there and get have enough time to get the whole machine behind her to really start to see the fruits of her labor. It was kind of short, almost like a shooting star.
Yeah, but is that because of what they had to do and what we're going to talk about? I mean, if she would have stayed around longer, I mean, she was part of the cartoon. She was in the
Yeah.
Goonies videos.
Hmm.
She was synonymous with Cyndi Lauper at the time.
Yeah.
But
You could
so
say she just happened to be in that spot too. I mean, it could have been Sherry Martel there with Cyndi Lauper. It could have been a lot of other people,
yeah, you're probably right, but because it was her,
right?
she felt like she deserved the money or more money. So because of that, and like I said, there's different versions of the story. But this was not necessarily a shoot, more of a screw job, another screw job. Uh, before the heart, obviously before the heart and Shawn Michaels screw job, but uh, she claims that she was supposed to wrestle the Spider Lady, who was a wrestler that wore a mask and was covered from head to toe. Uh,
Kind of resembled
obvi-
the Spider-Man gimmick that Brad Armstrong did a few years later.
not exactly, but yeah, I mean, anybody that was paying attention could have could have told that that was not the normal Spider Lady as soon as she got in the ring. Um, just the way she moved, the way that she was built. Um, but I will say this: at the end of the match, um, Wendy Richter did have her shoulder up when the referee counted to 3, and she looked legitimately upset that she lost.
Hmm.
Now, the other version of the story is that she went to the arena thinking she was going to take on the Spider Lady, sees Moolah walking around, and Moolah, I guess, hadn't been around for a little while, and at least not wrestled for a while, and sees her in the gimmick, the Spider Lady gimmick, and kind of figures out what's up and just goes along with
Yeah.
it. Which do you believe?
I believe that obviously she knew it was Fabulous Moolah. I mean, we're watching it at home. Anybody with a brain and was a wrestling fan knew that was Moolah. So, and
Right.
and she's told the story 3 different ways. I've heard her on a shoot interview tell it one way, and then now she's telling it a completely different way.
Okay.
She knew it was Moolah. She knew that she was gonna lose the title. So, anything after that, especially the show that they did on Dark Side of the Ring, that they did on Fabulous Moolah, I feel bad for Moolah because they drug her through the mud. Wendy Richter was on there, acting like she had no idea it was Fabulous Moolah in the ring. It's like, man, what a lie.
Yeah, I mean,
So it wasn't really, like you said, it wasn't a shoot, and she knew she was getting pinned.
yeah,
She probably
Right.
put her shoulder up
yeah,
to try and save face, and that was going to be the finish anyway. So,
right, yeah.
I mean that,
exactly.
I'd bet a paycheck on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I mean, did they talk about after she lost? I mean, she was done after that, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing her much after that. So I wonder if she knew that was it, or if she was just upset that they got the title off of her.
Yeah, I
It was
don't
just
I don't
like,
know if
all
she
right.
knew it was it or not, but I mean, with the way things were going, it was kind of obvious. Then she worked independence and worked down in Puerto Rico, and I think she had matches in Japan and whatnot. So anything you hear from her now is sour grapes, just like that Dark Side of the Ring tale about Moolah. Most of that was a lie, and it was obvious.
All right, I don't want to spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
That's really
And it wasn't
about
even
as
a
much
shoot.
as we could talk about it. Well, right, exactly. It wasn't, but um, now the reason that I thought about doing this was because there just happened to be a couple incidents on the independent scene a couple weeks ago, and one of them was a wrestler that was in WCW way back in the 90s. He wrestled under a mask as Agent Steel, and he wrestled under a mask as Zan Panzer, and he also wrestled as himself around that era. And it is Gene Anderson's son, Brad Anderson, and he was in a match with a guy named Jacob Ryan, and it was in the RWA. I can't remember what that stands for.
Revolution Wrestling Authority.
Okay. And apparently, I don't know. Did you watch the pre-match interview?
No.
Okay, I didn't send you that part, and I should have. But the kid's in the ring. Brad Anderson gets in the ring, cuts a promo on the kid, talking about how the kid had wrestled his son on a previous show and broke his wrist. And so basically he said, I don't know, he was talking about respect and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes after the guy. They go out of the ring. It's kind of hard to see. It looks like he kind of puts a choke on him. And then that's it. Takes off. Now, your opinion is that this was a work.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good work. What was Jacob Ryan could have like screwed a couple things up, but the whole deal was they were supposed to have a rematch after that. At another on another card.
Okay.
So
Did they? No? Or have they? Or
I don't know if they did or not.
Okay.
I mean, it was just kind of I didn't follow up on it that much, but I looked at some, a couple like Facebook pages, and pretty much they came out and said, yeah, it was a work.
Oh,
And
okay.
just looking at it, I didn't think it was a work. I mean, if somebody's going to shoot on someone, they're not going to hit them with the indie forearms, with the wrist to the back of the shoulder blades.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that to me, but I don't know if you if you're so used to doing that move, you might do it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
And none of it looked real to me. It just looked like they were trying to make it look like a work, like old school wrestling almost.
yeah, I don't know. it seems like that they could have done a better job at making it look. I I don't know. It's I mean, like I said, we mentioned the worked shoots, and I've seen some of those. This one looked to me a little bit more legit because the worked shoots that I've seen before have gone a lot longer, and they still do wrestling stuff in it. I mean, and I'm not talking about the forum. I mean, they still do like
Yeah.
wrestling stuff in it. So if this was a worked shoot, I think they actually did a pretty good job at it.
That's where I'm leaning, because really a shoot would be short, be like a regular fight,
Right.
So
So if it is, kudos to them
yeah,
for thinking of that,
and it
because
may have just turned out that way,
yeah,
on accident.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, yeah, so I haven't really followed up on it. I didn't check up to see if like Brad Anderson, because there was like a lot of heat on Brad Anderson in the beginning.
It was funny
Uh,
listening to the crowd react to that too.
oh, I know. It
Uh,
was. It kind of reminded me of when El Madrill almost died
I was thinking the same thing. The world class
when
crowd.
Brian Diaz gave him the Oriental tool
Yeah.
thumb to the neck thing. Um, so anyway,
Yeah, I would put that in a not shoot category.
okay.
I mean that's where I fall on that one.
Um, okay. Uh, I just want to mention this too. It's not a work shoot. I mean, this was like legitimate, but it was again back when WWE was getting beat by WCW, and they were just throwing whatever they could at the wall. They came up with the brawl for all,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people were really into this, and I thought it was interesting to watch.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it resulted in a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And basically it was you got so many points for taking somebody down, like a tackle, and then you'd box on top of it, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And
it
then
was really anything but, like elbows and
elbows and
knees.
knees and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was set up to kind of give Dr. Death Steve Williams, who was kind of freshly in there, a huge push. Everybody kind of thought that he would be a lock to win this because he had a reputation for being a real tough guy.
Because I heard it wasn't set up for that, but once they got it going, it was like, yeah, he's going to steamroll everybody, and
Okay.
then go and fight Stone Cold or whatever plans they had for him,
Yeah.
down the line.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Bart Gunn, unfortunately for Dr. Death and Dr. Death fans, Bart Gunn knocked Dr. Death out. And when he got knocked out, he tore his, I don't know, something in his leg anyway.
Yeah, I
And
think
then-
he
and
tore
then-
the
and then put him
hamstring
out.
before
Okay.
he got knocked out. And that
Oh,
was,
okay.
Yeah, that was the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that was pretty much the end of Dr. Death's WWE run. He ends up showing back up in WCW a little bit later. But
Dr. Death, former NCAA wrestling champion, played football, Oklahoma University, go
Yeah.
Sooners.
well, yeah, I mean, no doubt
Yeah.
about it. The guy was a tough guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, any of those guys that were in there, I would say were legitimately tough just to even sign up for that, because it was a voluntary thing. Apparently you could just sign up for it, and I think you got a bonus
Yeah.
for doing it.
Yeah.
It was a cool thing, but there's a reason that they have not done it again. It just resulted in too many injuries. So Bart Gunn kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think he was a boxer previously.
He had some boxing experience and some MMA training.
Okay,
So
so
like very little.
all right, so he ends up winning the whole thing. So as a reward, they put him up against Butterbean at the next WrestleMania, and he gets knocked out in what, like a minute?
Yeah. I mean, that was dumb of him.
Basically putting an end to Bart Gunn's WWE career as well.
Yeah.
He did go on to Japan after that and have a pretty decent career.
Well, didn't they team him up with Bob Holly as the new Midnight Express before WrestleMania, or was that after? When Cornette managed him, do you remember? Because I know they teamed up, but I can't put the time frame in there.
I want to say that was before Brawl for All.
Oh, I think it was after Brawl for All, but before the WrestleMania match. I was wondering if the
No.
Midnights were before or after the WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure the Midnights were before. No, it was before Brawl for All.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'd have to check, but
I can't put the time frame in there. But
Yeah,
but I know those two teamed up, and I just thought, yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that that the fake Midnight Express was before that. Yeah, because they used that to, for him to go take on Butterbean. Yeah, that I think at that point they wanted everybody to forget about that.
And that Butterbean knockout was, I mean, it was brutal.
It was.
I mean, you knew he had no chance. No chance at all, but man.
But just the sound of it, I just remember the sound of it. It sounded like it echoed through that whole arena,
Yeah.
the punch.
Weren't we watching that at Buffalo Wild Wings?
I might have been at your house.
Huh.
It seems like we were watching it at your house. And, had a bunch of people there. And yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
I just wanted to mention that.
those
Like I said, there was a lot of fans of that. But
that might have been the only really legit shoot from start to finish that we can see.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, anything we're going to talk about or anything you can find online,
Yeah, you're probably right.
the real only legitimate shoot.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, this is not online yet, but we will hopefully get it online sometime. Another one that was a full shoot from beginning to end, possibly the greatest shoot fight of all time. And I have to pat myself on the back for partially booking this.
And I'll pat you
I
too,
think
but I don't have go gadget arms.
I think you might have had something to do with it. Frank Williams Jr., Prozac 316 had something to do with it. And any fans of our old show, The Jobber Hour, 20 years ago, witnessed the greatest shoot fight of all time in history, but especially in Lake Orion history, in ONTV history, and that is none other than one of our previous guests here on Wrestling Tonight, Rock Action, going up against his former protege,
Yeah.
none other than Cue Ball.
Fantastic. And it was live on ONTV. ONTV's kind of carrying on the fighting arts tradition. They had the shoot fight.
Exactly.
Now we have wrestling in the studios here. So
Yeah, exactly. You and I were the commentators for it, and Frank Williams Jr. was the referee for it, and Rock Action ended up getting the victory. It went about 15 minutes or so, something like that.
Yeah, probably 11.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Packed studio at the time.
Yeah, that was great.
And anyway, like I said, hopefully we can get that. We can get it up online sometime.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see again. I just want to see the look on Rock Action's face, like watching it again.
I got to say that was probably the pinnacle of our show, The Jobber Hour. I remember, I think we mentioned this before, that once as soon as the show would start, we would just get bombarded with calls. I mean, it was just call after call after call. And I remember as soon as we announced that we were going to the shoot fight, we already had the audience in the studio. The phone did not ring at all.
Yeah.
Until that match was done. I
didn't even think of that.
Yeah. As soon as it was done, boom,
awesome.
the phone started ringing off the hook again. And I always wondered how many people actually witnessed it live.
I mean, just from that show, the feedback, I just get recognized out of, out and about in the community, and, family members that live in Lake Orion that I wouldn't ever think watched. They watched.
Yeah.
So it had to be a pretty decent audience,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was a formula that I used to know where you could kind of figure out how many people were watching.
100 per every one
compared to, like,
call, or 1,000 for every call. It depends
yeah,
on the size of.
maybe like 100
Yeah.
for us, but either way, that was a defining moment of our show, and like I said, hopefully we will be able to get that up sometime and get it out there on YouTube. So
Yeah, and it was great. And I
people
had weeks
can
and weeks
revisit
worth
it.
of buildup too.
It did. It even had more than that because
Yeah.
there was supposed to be, because leading up to it there was supposed to be a pose down that
Yeah.
I think they both no-showed.
Well, really, that was a couple year buildup. That story was like one of those like long arcing ones.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
was kind of one angle was shot when John brought him on to the radio show we used to do, WPON 1460, and this was the result of that. And that had to be a year and a half, 2 years earlier.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, though I mean they like I said, he brought him on as his protege, but then they kind of turned on each other. I think that had something to do with the sale, because Rock Action kind of let Cue Ball take over the radio show, but then there was still like some animosity there. I think that's kind of what built it up and led to that final confrontation. And over the years there's been talk of a rematch, but at this point it's pretty much a moot point. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, Cue Ball now resides in Florida, so maybe we'd have to have it like in Memphis, like a halfway point or something.
Right. Anything else about that match before we move on?
No, I think we covered it well. It was great, quality entertainment, and I appreciate those two guys for having the guts to do that. That took stones.
I do too. Yeah, and I know that there was a little trepidation on both of their parts.
Yeah.
Rock Action will have you believe otherwise, but I know for a fact that there was, because I remember that era. I had to convince him to show up. I think Frank Williams Jr. was doing the same thing to Cue Ball on the other end. So yeah, I give those guys huge props for even doing that.
Oh, one other thing on that. That was the first studio belt that we had. It was when it wasn't Comcast, it was TCI at the time, and Rock Action it was AT&T. AT&T television champion Rock Action was awarded the title.
Oh, that's right.
And I think you told me that he said that was one of the greatest moments of his life.
Yeah. Well, didn't he say that when we had him on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
A month or so ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he had the belt.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Is there anyone that you'd like to talk about next specifically?
Well, you know what? Since we brought up Dr. Death Steve Williams, let's go to that one. It was Dr. Death Steve Williams against, I can't find that. Oh, against the Wild Thing Stevie Ray. And this was from the UWF.
Yeah.
Not
Watts' UWF.
Right.
Herb Abrams' UWF.
Yeah. And this was, what was that? Early 90s maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early 90s.
Yeah, so this was a tournament match for the UWF title. It was a new company, and they were getting ready to go into a pay-per-view a week or two later for the championship match.
Yeah.
Steve Dr. Death Williams against Stevie Ray. And they had a match, and if you look online, everybody thinks that it was a shoot, but it was just very snug.
That's what I was going to say.
And they, some people call it stiff, snug, but Dr. Death style, he came from, he worked a lot in Japan, and plus he's a tough guy anyway. Yeah. And even in the UWF from Bill Watts, the Mid-South territory, he worked pretty snug. Rough, tough guy.
Yeah.
And it was just a tough match, and for whatever reason, everybody thought that it was a legitimate, shoot fight. Like they were throwing the code of wrestling to the wind.
Right.
And it really wasn't even all that good of a match because it was that way, I think. But
UWF, Herb Abrams UWF, you'd be hard pressed to find any good matches.
Yeah.
Believe me.
That was surprising.
That's probably one of the best matches on the card.
Yeah.
He paid the money to get the good wrestlers, but they must have just been able to go in there and do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, they looked
And
at him like a
with
money
no,
mark too, you know.
yeah,
And he was back blowing rails and
well,
partying and everything.
well, the story is that he's the one that paid Dr. Death to rough him up because of something. It was like he thought he was dating his girlfriend behind his back or something like that.
Well, Stevie Ray wasn't taking any of that, you know. That's for dang sure.
No,
Because it looked like
no.
he threw the first stiff shot at Dr. Death. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it. I forgot to look this one up, but yeah, I remember seeing it. I've probably watched it a couple times.
Yeah,
And
I just
always
watched
wondered-
all these.
Okay, yeah, and I was wondering the same thing. I was like, really? People think this is a shoot? It didn't look like it to me. It just looked like
Like a bad,
you said,
stiff
like
match.
It was a little bit snug.
Yeah.
And, and that was it. And I'm sure it's not the only UWF match that looks like that, but I can't bear to watch that crap.
And you know what though? as I was going through these, and I read a lot of the comments underneath too.
Yeah.
Just to get everybody's opinion on it. And I would say that most of the people now would look at a match like that and think that it's a shoot. Because how many people get in a fight anymore? How many
Right.
people see, you know, like legit wrestling matches or even, you know, like shoot wrestling matches?
Right.
It's just completely different what you're exposed to now. So, you know, when I was going through these and I see the comments, I'm like, how can you think that was real?
Right.
So it was just odd. Yeah, that one does not fall into the shoot category.
Okay, but one of them that definitely does is, and this is probably my favorite one to watch. And for some reason, it kind of seems like the shoots happen more so in Japan than they did here. And I don't know why I like this one so much, but it is Antonio Inoki against the great Antonio.
Oh, there's a lot of meat on that bone, huh?
So this great Antonio, apparently, I mean, I guess he did have somewhat of a wrestling career, but he was also like a comedian or something.
Well, he did a lot of different.
Yeah, he was kind of a jack of all trades,
Yeah.
master of none type.
Well, he
type
had been in
guy.
Japan before, fought Ricky Dozan
Yes.
in the 60s, you know,
Yeah.
and had a nice feud with him there.
Right. Those days were long gone, I'm sure, by the time this match happened.
Yeah.
Because he was like way overweight, couldn't really move.
52 years old.
Yeah, couldn't really move a whole lot. So I mean, basically, it looked like he just didn't want to go along with what Inoki wanted to do. He was kind of goofing around, kind of being a clown.
Yeah, he wouldn't sell any of Inoki's strikes,
Right.
you know.
And then he hit Inoki with a couple good shots, right? Didn't he elbow him in the back of the head a couple times?
I
something?
think that was after.
Was it after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, finally, Inoki had enough of it and just like unloaded on him with a bunch of strikes and kicks and busted his face open.
Yeah.
And left him laying on the mat, and then pretty much just leaves the ring real quickly. But if anybody has not seen this match, check it out. The big thing nowadays is not that the great Antonio is being a bully or anything, but the big thing nowadays is whether it's legit or not, they'll put out a video that starts, let's say a fight on the playground. And they'll say, "Oh, bully finally gets his comeuppance." That's what it kind of reminded me of.
A couple things on that match though. At the end, basically what happens is Inoki winds up kicking the great Antonio in the face, breaks his nose, kind of busted his nose, and he's bleeding all over the place. And then, the story is, and you can watch it on YouTube, Antonio Inoki versus the great Antonio. And it looks like he's stomping him in back of the head while Inoki is prone with his face down on the mat. Now, the stomps were worked.
Yes.
He kicked him twice in the face, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
But, my first thought was, well, that's a pretty good work, because Antonio Inoki would bring in all of these different types of people and have matches with them to make himself look legit.
Right.
Because in Japan, it's a little different than it is here as far as, wanting to make sure that you look like you're tough and legit and real, kind of how it used to be here.
Right.
But they're just a little more crazy about it.
Yeah.
So, so I started looking into the great Antonio, and apparently he had, he was a little off his rocker anyway, had some mental issues and whatnot.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, they brought the guy in to take a dive to get a payday, So did you notice in that match, did you watch any of the clips with him and Ricky Dozan?
I did not.
It looked eerily similar
Really?
to what happened here, except it was a clip and some of it was cut.
The only reason that I'm going to disagree with you is because of Inoki's reaction.
Yeah.
Because you never see, you would have never seen Inoki act the way that he acted. And there was no reason for him to do that in this match. I mean,
unless
he
it was meant to be that
legitimately
way.
upset and left the ring like immediately.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't believe that it was 100. I'm still undecided on it because it's not above those guys to bring somebody in to take a butt kicking.
Well, I agree. The way the match went, you could tell that Inoki was getting frustrated.
And
I think he just finally had enough.
Yeah.
But,
I would fall that way. I would lean towards that being legit.
Yeah. All right. What do you got next?
How about well, let's stay in Japan and let's go to the Great Sasaki versus Dirt Bike Kid. Did I get that last name right?
Sure. It's I mean, I've heard it pronounced Sasuke. Well, you said Sasuke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay, because I've heard Sasuke, and a couple different. All right,
either way.
This was a match, and it was in a tournament. The tournament it was an oddball tournament. They do a lot of different tournaments in Japan for different things, and the idea behind this tournament was every wrestler in it wore a mask, probably close to your heart. Mad Dog wasn't in it at the time, but
no.
The Great Sasaki was well-known, kind of a tough guy, a well-respected wrestler.
Yeah.
And this Dirt Bike Kid was in the United States. He wasn't a Japanese guy. Sabu got him the gig over there, from what I understand. And his gimmick was he looked like one of those motocross racers on the dirt bikes. He had, he had a mask over his mouth and the Fox racing gear or whatnot.
Yeah.
So they go into the ring and it looks like a regular match.
Yes.
Sasaki is selling for, registering all the Dirt Bike Kid's moves.
Yeah.
And the match was supposed to be a short 5-minute match.
Okay.
And the finish was supposed to come when Sasaki gave Dirt Bike Kid like a kick on the right side, a kick on the left side, and then what do they call it? Like a roundhouse kick?
Jumping like spin kick.
Yeah.
Like the back kick.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the back kick.
Yeah.
Spinning back kick.
Because that was kind of his
yeah.
move. Yeah.
And then it was supposed to be that. That was supposed to be it.
Okay.
But then the Dirt Bike Kid decided, well, he didn't want the finish to be that way because it make him look weak.
Okay, I've seen the match, but I never read into it, so I didn't know this.
Yeah, I missed telling part of the story. So before we go in too far into the match, let me back up. And I mentioned the tournament was supposed to be everybody wearing a mask. Well, before the match started, the Dirt Bike Kid took his mask off. Basically, the company, the office in Japan, gave him a mask to wear to say, hey, do this. This is what we're doing.
Okay.
So he takes the mask off because he didn't want to wear it.
Okay.
So then the match starts, and Sasaki is still selling for Dirt Bike Kid. Sasaki makes a little comeback. It was the first round of the tournament, so you want to keep him short, right?
Yeah.
Because he's going to go fight for a half hour later on.
Yeah.
Dirt Bike Kid didn't want to do that, so Sasaki gives him the spinning kick, and Dirt Bike Kid doesn't really sell it. I mean, he sells it, he goes down, and then Sasaki is thinking, okay, maybe he just didn't get it, and he does the whole sequence again. And Dirt Bike Kid still didn't go down for the finish. So
Okay.
Sasaki starts kicking him, basically just like a no. You'll see that with a lot of Japanese. They wind up throwing kicks.
Right.
The guy was down, so he starts stomping him, kicking him, and then kicked him right in the gut. Dirt Bike Kid says I had rib cartilage injury, so that's why that hurt. Kicks him right in the gut, doubles him over, puts him in a
front
front
face lock.
chancery, front
Yeah.
face lock. Boom, taps him
Taps
out.
on. Right.
And then that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did. He legitimately went to work on the Dirt Bike Kid for being a douchebag.
Okay.
Yeah, I read the interview with Dirt Bike Kid and did a
okay.
little research on what a douchebag.
Yeah, I mean he's a guy that that is probably his claim to fame.
Yeah,
Actually,
he didn't have a match
'cause I
after
never
that
heard
either.
anything. He never had one
Nope.
after that.
That was it. He said he got injured, but really nobody booked him. He was humiliated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I never looked in the background of it. I saw
Yeah.
the match. I just thought that Sasuke got upset with something during the match and just decided to
Yeah, he wasn't
to finish it.
wasn't going with the program. So
Okay.
yeah, and that was Sasaki's. He was one of the. He might have been the booker for that place.
Yeah.
What an idiot! He lost a ton of money too, because had he, and it was just your normal, 1990 to present day like spot fest. A guy just basically going over and executing a bunch of moves.
Yeah.
But when it was his turn to do the selling, he didn't do it.
Right. Okay.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, this is another one. If you haven't seen it, check it out because I mean it's actually a pretty decent match up until then.
Yeah, he was just
I mean,
going
it's nothing,
through moves,
it's nothing spectacular,
Yeah.
but it was probably just set up for Sasuke to get all his shit in, and win the match and go on to the next round.
Yeah. Well, really, I mean, it was
then
the
give
opposite.
him-
It was Dirt Bike getting all of his stuff in.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
then-
Yeah, you're right. And then
Sasuke just kind of like
win it.
sliding out,
Right.
the guy's losing, so you give him 80% of the match.
Yeah.
Bring him over again, and, then
Yeah.
people know who he is.
Yeah.
But he wrecked it. Idiot.
Let's stay in Japan and talk about this guy who actually had another one, and I forgot to write it down. Did you get the other? Well, we're going to talk about Akira Miyata versus Andre the Giant.
Oh, yeah.
But there was also another one that he had before that, and I don't know why I didn't write it down, but it was like a tag team match, and he shot on some young kid for some reason and busted him open and then left that promotion. And then
No, I didn't
went
get that one.
yeah, I wish I would have wrote that down. But anyway, I don't know if video exists of that one, but people were talking about that. But the word is on this one that Andre was drunk in the ring. He kind of looks like maybe, but he would have had to drink a ton if you believe all those stories to be able to be that intoxicated.
I don't think he was drunk. That's how he could. That was 1986, late 86.
Okay.
So he just couldn't move. Hell, he was putting himself in holds from the other guy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't. And Andre could wrestle. That's kind of like we said in the last show.
Oh, so I mean, again, I've seen this match, but I never really. I probably have read it in the past. It seemed to me like Miyata just got frustrated with whatever. Like he didn't. What was it?
I didn't read anything. I just watched the match.
Yeah. But, I mean, it was kind of odd. Like, what was it? Because he didn't think Andre was selling enough for him, or what? And he did. I will say this: he did get a couple good kicks in Andre's leg to actually take him down at one point.
See, I even thought those
they
were
did a
worked.
whole lot to him. No, I don't think so.
'Cause
Not the way they sounded.
Well,
I mean, Andre,
not the kicks, but the takedowns.
No, I'm saying he kept kicking him in the leg.
Yeah.
And then finally Andre's leg kind of gave out on him.
I thought the whole thing to me looked like it was supposed to be look like a work. It didn't even look like it was supposed to be a match from the start, like a legit, like a normal pro wrestling match.
But again, what would be the point though?
Well, because it's different over there in Japan. Like that guy, he supposedly had a background too, and they had at the same time they had the another UWF over there that was supposedly shoot fights, real shoot wrestling. So that was 84, 86, and then they came back 88 to 90. So it was in the culture of wrestling over there, these, shoots.
Okay.
And that's kind of how they're brought up through the dojos anyway.
Right.
Going back through the gotcha era. I don't know if it's the same now, but before, even here in the States, Canada, wherever, you had to learn to shoot to protect yourself to be able to hurt somebody.
Well, true, but I mean, it seemed like, again, Miata was getting frustrated or something. It just I don't know. I mean, the story that I heard or that I've read is that he was upset because Andre was drunk.
Yeah. Well, Miata also formed that UWF, that shoot fight wrestling league.
After this, though?
This was during it. This was 86. That UWF,
Okay.
Miata started that in 84.
Okay.
So this was at the end of it. He was trying to get his way back into New Japan.
Oh, okay.
So he had done some stuff in New Japan that they didn't like, and he was ousted or left.
Yeah.
And started the UWF, which was a shoot fight league.
Okay.
Shoot wrestling.
All right.
So this is all during that time. So that's why to me, it looked like it was meant to be that way.
Okay. I mean, it's possible because Inoki did come out at the end. That was like the only question that I had, because Inoki did come out at the end and stop it and get what did he get? Did he get Miata out of the ring, or?
Well, really,
get
everybody
Andre out
came
of the
into
ring?
the ring, and
Okay.
it just kind of stopped because Inoki came out and then left and then came back.
Oh, okay.
And if Inoki was going to come out, and he came out in his gear, he had his towel on and everything, because if they wanted it to stop, they would have stopped it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that was the only question that I had about it. So I mean, yeah, it's been a little while since I watched this one also. But,
Yeah, because even the Miata was trying to put the, like the reclining armbar on Andre the Giant, and was just being lazy with it, and Andre had to put the guy's leg in the right position.
Oh, okay.
And even from the beginning, when they were trying to lock up, and Miata was trying to shoot down on Andre for a single leg, double leg to get him off his feet, it just looked like they were trying to make it look legit, because Andre was still pretty quick, which, man, it surprised me, like how quick he was when that guy was trying to shoot on him, how quick he could go down and grab him.
Yeah.
And the crowd, like, Andre would just land on him, and the crowd would go, oh.
Right. Yeah.
It looked like it was a worked shoot from.
I'll have to revisit this one myself.
Yeah.
And check it out.
Yeah, because I think you'll see it different if you do watch that. Yeah.
All right. What do you want to talk about next?
How about? Well, I want to do this one. I brought it up to you before the show. This one is special in the annals of MMA, shoot fighting, and wrestling. This was it's said to be the first official MMA match in North America. And that was December 2nd, 1963 in Salt Lake City, Utah, the Fairgrounds Coliseum. Judo Gene LaBelle, who was a judo player and a pro wrestler, took on a guy by the name of Milo Savage, who was a boxer. He was maybe at the end of his career. He's ranked 5th in the world in the middleweight class at the time.
Okay.
And you can go look, like, Sure Dog covers this one. A lot of people in the MMA circles cover this one, because I had seen this years ago.
Okay.
And basically it was just a judo guy and a wrestler against a boxer, and LaBelle kind of took it to him. They had promos before, and the boxer saying there's no way a judo or a karate guy can beat a boxer.
Right.
He'd knock them all out.
Okay.
And the thing at the time is karate really wasn't taken that seriously here as it was overseas. Because even when we were kids, you had like the Bruce Lee stuff and the Chuck Norris, and you started to hear the competitions and the movies. But for the fighting arts, karate was just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Right. And I agreed with that, because I had run-ins with people who knew karate before, and it was just like, you get them
Right.
down and they're done.
Exactly. Right. Well, go ahead and talk about that. But
Yeah, sure.
But oh no, I was just gonna say, the beginnings of UFC when they started to do that. That's why UFC looks like it is now. That's why they all train the same, because that was the big thing with the Ultimate Fighting Championships. Is you'd have a boxer versus a grappler.
Oh, yeah, right.
And the grappler would kick the boxer's butt every time because, like you said, as soon as the boxer would hit the ground, that was it.
Yeah.
They had no ground training.
Dan Severn, Ken
so-
Shamrock, of pro wrestling fame as well,
Oh yeah. Tank Abbott also.
Yeah.
But
Brock Lesnar.
yeah, later on. But I'm talking the early days of it before everybody started training the same way.
Yeah.
They didn't train. The boxers didn't train for anything else. You just trained one way, and that was it.
Yeah.
So like anybody that didn't train to do anything on the ground was done.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
As soon as they hit the ground, they were done.
Yeah. Yeah, now they all
Unless
train
they had
for
grappling
MMA.
training. Right.
you know?
Yeah. So now it all kind of looks the same.
Yeah.
If you go back to those early ones, you could see the different disciplines and everything coming.
Just
into
like
play.
wrestling, a lot of the fighters look the same too, Like
Right.
that niche, all that flavor is gone, but that's a MMA discussion. But going back to Judo Gene LaBelle, another famous wrestler with the name Gene.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. He won with a sweeping hip throw. Basically, that's what they call it in wrestling. And, just a standard like judo hip toss. But he.
So what was the rules? Did he have to pin him, or just if he got him on the ground, or what?
It was knockout submission.
So he gave him that move and it knocked him out?
Yeah, but he choked him out after that.
Oh, okay.
So he gives him the hip toss, slams him down,
Okay.
puts him in a chokehold, and referee stopped it.
Okay.
Yeah, Judo Gene LaBelle, he's really a big name. He was, if you listen to Ronda Rousey, I don't, but he used to be a corner man. Taught Ronda Rousey because she was a famous, world-class judo player too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
LaBelle's been all over. He's been in Hollywood. He's been in 300 movies, commercials.
Oh yeah, he used to always be in back when we would buy the wrestling magazines back in the 80s. He'd always have ads for his self-defense videos or whatever.
Interesting story, that guy.
Yeah.
He was in Rocky II, Raging Bull.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Also, Sandy Barr was on that card. It was a pro wrestling card, and that's kind of why it's getting brought up. Like Gene LaBelle wasn't a big time pro wrestler,
Yeah.
but he would, his main deal was the fighting arts. But he did wrestle. He wrestled a lot.
Is that out there on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's yep. You can find that one.
Right.
That one's been out there forever.
Okay. I off the top of my head, I don't think I've ever seen it, but I'll have to check that one out
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Now this, the next one that I want to talk about is, again, not necessarily a shoot, and I'm talking about the mass transit incident. If anybody doesn't know the story, apparently Bubba Ray Dudley in the early days of ECW, I don't know if he, for whatever reason, he wasn't on a show. So it was supposed to be the Dudleys against the Gangstas. So
New Jack and who was the
New
other
Jack
guy?
and Mustafa.
Yeah, Mustafa.
So
Saeed.
yeah, so there's this kid who had been kind of wrestling on the independents. He was doing a Ralph Cramden bus driver type gimmick. He was a big dude, but he was only 17 years old. He lied about his age. And
Who's Ralph Cramden? What?
From the Honeymooners. It was Jackie Gleason's character.
Okay.
Jackie, who was
okay.
a bus driver.
Yeah.
So
Right in the kisser.
yeah, basically that was his gimmick. He was supposed to be like a fat bus driver, and but anyway, he was called Mass Transit. His dad actually lied about his age for him and his experience for him to get him on the show. So I did.
Nice parenting.
So I did recently rewatch this one. New Jack comes in, does all his typical New Jack stuff. Basically, Mustafa Saeed is just keeping Devon Dudley out of the ring the whole time. So New Jack is just hitting this kid with all this stuff. Well, obviously, in a ECW match, they want this kid to get color. I don't know if he asked to get color.
He did. He asked New Jack to.
Well, no, I know, but I don't know if they told him that he was going to get color or whatever. But he had never cut himself, is what it was. So he asked New Jack to cut him for him, and New Jack gigged the shit out of him, and then so the kid is like bleeding. You could hear the kid like scream like when he cuts him, and he cut him deep. I mean, he's like
as soon as he saw the blood, he probably freaked out.
Yeah, I think because the blood like immediately started flowing out of his head. Like there's a shot of him like laying there with the EMTs coming in at the end of the match, and it's just flowing out of his head.
You think they gave him aspirin beforehand?
I doubt it, but either way, this ended up being you can hear the dad on the outside. I'm thinking the video recording is from the dad. And he starts saying, "No, leave him alone. He's only 17." Like, well, you just lied for him and said he was old enough. And so then the reports later are that the kid loved it. The kid had the time of his life. But, I think they did end up suing, and they ended up losing the case. I think it might have even been on the People's Court.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if I remember correctly. No, I have to look that up. But
that was one they lost the case because he asked New Jack to get blood for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that was the one that the kid was...
And they lied about his age.
Yeah.
And his experience.
And then when he went in the back, he was smoking cigarettes in the locker room and kind of wanting to do all this stuff in a match. And in wrestling, there's kind of like a code, I'll mention that word again, where if you're a rookie, you just it's kind of like going to any new job. You graduate college or you're in high school and you go to a job, you shut your mouth and listen. Kind of do what you're told. Right. And this kid wasn't like that. So that's kind of...
Yeah. Well, he was living his gimmick.
Yeah.
Big, loudmouth, fat dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was that one. Not really a shoot match. I mean, he went along with everything.
Yeah.
But definitely...
He probably shouldn't have got cut that bad.
No. Definitely
New
a
Jack's
shoot gig
known
on
for
New Jack's part.
Taking liberties,
Exactly. All right, what do you got?
I didn't have that one written down. Well, let's stay with New Jack. Why don't we make this a little New Jack block here? Gypsy Joe versus New Jack.
Okay.
Now, for people who haven't heard of Gypsy Joe, he's an old-time wrestler. He's been wrestling since the 50s. He just passed, I don't know if...
a couple years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago,
he was
maybe.
Pretty much wrestling all the way up until then.
Yeah, he wrestled until he was... I think he died when he was 77, and he was wrestling all the way up till he died.
Yeah.
He was famous in Japan. In the 50s, he was really big in the Midwest when there were different territories. So New Jack has this match with Gypsy Joe, and Gypsy Joe's gimmick, his style was he really didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
As late, he sold early on. You can see him in Memphis matches. I've seen him where he's doing some selling, but he was legitimately just tough as nails.
Yeah.
I mean, he would tell people to kind of like a Johnny Valentine, Greg the Hammer Valentine's dad, to just nail him. Mm-hmm. But it didn't faze him. So he goes into this match with New Jack and is doing the Gypsy Joe stuff. New Jack is hitting him and he's not, selling it, registering it, like whipping his head all around and flopping all over the place like everybody else does. So, and he's telling New Jack to hit him. Mm-hmm. Boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, all of a sudden, they're fighting outside of the ring, and it was short. There wasn't much to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring to watch just because Gypsy Joe is just taking all this punishment.
Yeah.
And he headbutt New Jack, like, right
right
in the nose.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. But anyway, New Jack winds up taking a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire and starts going to town on Gypsy Joe.
Yeah.
And Gypsy Joe's laying there on the outside. The crowd's all stunned, because it was real. It was legit. But it was a worked legit. I put that in a work shoot category.
I do too. And I was going to say the same thing, because this is another one that everyone was always talking about and how disgusting it was and whatever. And first time I watched it, I was like, this is a work.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, he probably, I'm sure they were both laying in the shots to each other. But that, like you said, that's just how Gypsy Joe was. That's how New Jack was.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary from a regular New Jack match. Besides, it was the old Gypsy Joe that made it look bad.
Yeah. I've heard interviews with, I have one with Gypsy Joe.
Okay.
And he said, he's like, I don't know why people make a big deal about it. It's nice that they do.
Yeah.
Gets my name back out there.
Right.
So he made bookings, he got extra bookings because of this.
Oh, okay.
But he's like, wasn't a big deal. That's how I roll.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, that's another one. If anybody's unfamiliar with that one, check that one out. Make up your own mind about it.
Yeah.
Now, the next one I want to talk about is definitely a shoot. And it got one of the guys some pretty major heat. It kind of derailed his push, if he was getting any sort of push at the time. And that is Mad Dog Mike Bell versus Perry Saturn in WWFE. Mike Bell actually, was kind of a long time prelim guy. Was pretty decent. For whatever reason, in this match, they botched a couple spots, and I'm not even blaming him. But Saturn took it personal and chucked him out of the ring, and he kind of like landed on his head. And I believe Mike Bell later on said that was his own fault, the way that he came out. But Saturn did rough.
I didn't know, but just from watching the match, I could tell it was his fault.
Yeah. But Saturn did kind of rough him up a little bit and end up beating him. And I can't remember like what I know as soon as he got back, like Vince got on him and was like, what the hell was that or whatever. Anyway, like I said, that kind of derailed Saturn's push. Not that he was getting a huge push anyway, but it at least got him some heat in WWE for a while.
So I put this in the. I don't think it was that much of a shoot, like because I'm watching this thing. I'd never seen that before.
Okay.
And so I'm watching this. Here's how the events transpired according to, the Brace Beemer logic here. Saturn thinks he's getting a hip toss, and this Bell guy goes for an arm drag.
Yes.
So Saturn flips over, and what was supposedly, and it's hard to tell with the camera angle, but supposedly Mike Bell throws Saturn on his head.
Right.
Which he didn't throw him on his head. Saturn was the one doing all the work, flipped over, and it looked like he just did a roll.
Right.
Didn't look like he fell on his head, or maybe he did. Maybe he hit the back of his head.
Right.
So Saturn hits him with a couple kicks that looked work to me. I couldn't find anything in the kicks that looked like they were legit. He throws a couple indie wrist forearms to his back like that. They look just like any other forearm to me. Right. It was on the back of his shoulder. And then he throws him out of the ring. And when he threw him out of the ring, he only had his hand on the back of his. He threw him out the proper way.
Yeah.
He didn't chuck him out. He just let him out.
Yeah.
And
like I said, Mike Bell, I believe, took the heat for that later and said it was his own fault.
Yeah.
But again, you could tell Saturn gets frustrated. So whether he's delivering full force on the kicks and the punches or the forearms, whatever they may be, he was still upset before he threw him out of the ring.
Well, it looked like he was. I did a little more research on this. I watched Saturn interviews and stuff, and he's like, I was just throwing him out of the ring to get my wits back about me because I got bumped in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it was as much of a as much of a shoot as advertised. I mean, he got bumped, and the other guy took a bad spill, and I think that was like, to me, that was the extent of it.
Yeah.
And then he went and he rammed him into the steel barricade, which looked like they all look.
Well,
you really have to do it.
I don't think that was
Yeah.
part of it. I think Saturn had probably cooled down at that point.
Well, what I saw, they didn't even show the finish of the match.
Oh, they didn't?
No. Mm-mm. But I mean, I didn't even think Saturn was mad.
Yeah, you could tell he was frustrated. I mean, because he botched it twice, didn't he? It was more than the one botch.
I think it was.
I remember.
I think it was just the one.
Okay, I'd have to watch it again, but I thought it was more than one botch, and then he just kind of jumped up and started going after him. But like I said, I'd have to watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, there's some legitimacy in there, but I think it's more like making a mountain out of a molehill on that one.
Okay. Now here's one that I forgot until just now. Real quick, part of the it was one of the ECW one night stands, and it was JVL and the Blue Meanie. Do you have that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And basically it had all the guys in the ring. JVL like specifically sought out Blue Meanie, started laying in some real punches, busted his face open. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But that stemmed from what did that heat stem from again? Do you remember?
Yeah. Blue Meanie, when he was signed by the WWF.
Yeah.
It was late. They were on a little tour in the Northeast, and so he signs with the WWF at the time, and the booking office sends him a plane ticket, and it was a first class seat.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember.
So
this
he
now.
doesn't know what he's doing. He's going on the plane, and he's sitting in first class. And in wrestling, it's a big deal. Not everybody was flying first class. That was saved for the veterans, the big money guys. So all the people that have been there a while, they're walking by him, and he's sitting in first class. That was like one of the things. And because he's talking about it, he said like Mick Foley, Mankind, whoever, was kind of prodding him about it.
Uh-huh.
And he was wondering if he was going to get in trouble, and then later, I think that was like his first stint, and then he left, and then he came back, if I'm remembering that right.
I don't remember, that.
So that was because when he left on the internet, he said the working in the WWF was great, except for JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, was a bully.
Okay.
And that was
That's
it.
right. Okay.
So when he came back in to do this ECW thing, and they had that battle royal,
yeah,
there were so many people in that ring.
Yeah.
He had worked the Sandman like the night before,
okay,
or a couple days before,
mm-hmm.
and Sandman split him open. It was like in the back of his head.
Oh yeah.
And he had to get staples.
Okay, yeah.
So when they get in this battle royal, like Layfield just goes right after him, busted him open again.
Yeah.
So that he's bleeding all over the place, and that was kind of it. I mean, there was a skirmish, like Smothers went after JBL. That'd be a fight I'd like to see.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Tracy Smothers against John Bradshaw Layfield. That'd have been a good one.
That would be.
Yeah, and then they buried the hatchet later, and they kind of explained everything.
They actually let, and in the ring, they actually let Blue Meanie get a victory over JBL.
Yeah.
Eventually. Yeah.
That was the one with the Richards chair shot that everybody thought was like all real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was stiff, but.
Yeah, because Blue Meanie goes to the back, and John Laurinaitis is there, and he's like, what's that? We don't do that here. And he's like, JBL just shot at me. So he's like, oh, really? Well, we don't do that here either. We're going to have to take care of that. Where's my skateboard?
Johnny Ace. Road Warrior Animal's brother.
That's right.
Also the Terminator's brother in Mid-South UWF.
Yep.
UWF is getting a lot of plugs on this one.
They are. Every UWF there was has gotten a plug.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. We're running a little bit long time, but give me another one.
Okay, how about Bruiser Brody versus Lex Luger? That'll be a good one, because a lot of people know who, especially Luger.
Yeah.
A lot of people knows Lex Luger.
Yes.
This was in January 1987 in Florida, Championship Wrestling from Florida. This was at the dying days of the territory system. Florida was still hanging on. Lex Luger was brought in, former USFL football player, chiseled like a Greek god, and he was getting a push, meaning they were gonna strap the rocket to his butt and try and make some money with him.
Yeah.
And he had a match against Bruiser Brody, one of your all-time favorites. Even had a T-shirt on him a couple shows ago.
I did.
So they get into the cage match. Bill Alfonso's the referee. And for whatever reason, Bruiser Brody decides not to sell or register any of the moves, holds, strikes, punishment that Luger was dishing out.
Right.
And the match goes on. It wasn't that long, maybe like a 7-minute match, maybe, if that.
Yeah, probably something like that.
And Luger was trying to work. They were supposed to come back and have, they were supposed to have a series of 3 matches with a blow-off to try and get some money.
Yeah.
So, Brody is no selling this.
Yes.
Luger would punch, would try anything, and Brody is just like standing there.
Yes.
And from what nobody knows why. Anybody that has ever been close to Brody that I've heard, like, has no idea why. Luger doesn't know why.
Right.
And then so finally Luger's just like, and leaves. He probably couldn't have beat Brody up in real life,
Right.
So he just leaves, climbs over the top of the cage and leaves. Because what was he going to do? Sit there and make himself look like an idiot even more,
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what the deal was. Brody was definitely in the wrong on that one. So
yeah, definitely. And that wasn't the only time he was in the wrong. But the one of the stories that I heard from somebody at some point was that Luger was afraid of Brody.
Probably a lot of guys were young in the business like that,
Right. So somebody stooged Luger and went to Brody, and I think put him up to it as a rib, or at least let him know that Luger was afraid of him. So I don't know if it was just him messing with Luger.
Well, if he's messing with Luger, he's costing a lot of people a lot of money.
Oh no, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right by any means. I think it's hilarious because I never liked Luger, and it's hilarious watching him do those punches over and over and over and not knowing what to do. But but either way, yeah. And then somebody's story, I think it was Luger's story, said that he most of the stories are that Luger hightailed it out of there because he didn't know what was going on.
Out of the ring, yeah. Like after a while.
No, most of the stories are he left the arena.
Oh.
Like got out of the arena too.
Well, he's probably pissed.
I don't know if he was around long enough to be pissed. He was probably just more confused than anything. But I believe Luger says that he went to Brody's locker room after, and Brody was just like, sorry, brother, I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So, who knows? There's so many different stories about there. Unfortunately, we can't get shoot interviews from Bruiser Brody anymore.
Yeah.
Although there are some out there. But he wasn't talking about this incident.
Yeah, I feel bad for Luger because that was, I feel bad for everybody that was there, really.
But anyway, but again, that's not technically a shoot. It was more of just a bizarre situation, really.
Yeah.
But it didn't go the way it was supposed to go. So yeah. Now, I want to say it was the very first day that I was ever on the Pile Driver radio show. I remember sitting in one of the rooms, and we're talking about the previous night's Nitro and Raw, and I mentioned to Rock Action that he brought up Goldberg, and how great Goldberg looked in his match against William Regal, or Steve Regal at the time. And I was like, no, there was something wrong with that. I was like, that match there did not go as planned. There was something to that. I was like, Regal looked like he was not wanting to lose or whatever. again, both of these guys now say that it wasn't a shoot, and it wasn't a shoot.
No.
Regal was snug, but
He had to be.
But they have the different right. I mean, they have Regal saying that he was told to do one thing, Goldberg saying that he was told to do something else. You know, Regal was told by somebody, and it sounds like WCW was such a mess backstage. You didn't know who was in charge. I mean, you knew ultimately who was in charge, but there was so many other cooks involved. So who knows? You know, somebody could have told Regal one thing. Goldberg gets a different story and what's supposed to happen. You know, Regal was saying that he was supposed to have a competitive match with Goldberg.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Because they were doing that around, on house shows.
Yeah. Bischoff or somebody's saying that Goldberg was just supposed to do his normal squash. So anyway, Regal just says that he was trying to make it competitive. I don't think there's any animosity there anymore. The story is that Goldberg walked back and immediately got fired by Bischoff. That is not true either. Yeah. Regal was around for a couple more months before he got let go. I think probably like 5 or 6 months before he.
Yeah, but I don't think that had anything to do with it.
No, it didn't. That's what I'm saying. The story is that it's gotten way blown out of proportion. That as soon as he walked back there, he got fired. Yeah. That's not the case at all. He was around for months after that. But anyway, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, this looked like us teaching a newbie.
Yeah, and that's probably exactly what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing more than Regal having to get a match out of Goldberg, who wasn't, in no fault of his own, who wasn't used to having a legit or a full, 5-minute wrestling match.
Right.
So if Goldberg thinks that it's his time to start going on the offense, he doesn't know timing. He doesn't know how to do a match, so Regal would have to put him back down. It happens all the time. It just normally doesn't happen on live television in front of that many people, because normally somebody like Goldberg isn't in the ring yet.
Right.
On live TV.
True.
So you see that a lot of house shows, indie shows, all over. You see matches like that all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that's all it was.
Yeah. All right. We got to wrap it up. Thank you for your expert analysis as always, Brace Beemer.
Pleasure being here, Mad Dog. Great job as usual.
Thank you. Everybody remember to check out MWO Slammin' Saturday Night coming up here on Orion ONTV on June 8th. I got it right that time.
Yes, you did. June 8th. 6:05 bell time.
Yeah, 6:05. I will be hosting a Doghouse segment, so you can check me out as well. And keep checking the Butch Blood page for future shows. And take care.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell anybody. Wrestling Tonight. Wrestling Tonight podcast is getting big. And also Saturday, June 8th, MWO here at the ONTV studio.
Exactly.
Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah.